out to learn a little bit about Core mining. In summary, Core is a new gold equity. The company was formed by several high net worth gentlemen in 2017 with the express purpose to buy gold assets cheap and advance and monetize those assets into a cycle. The company fundamentally believes that we are heading at some point in the future into a strong upmarket in the gold cycle. We've acquired a great portfolio of assets ahead of that cycle, and we think we can add a lot of shareholder value as we advance those assets going forward. If anything I say interests you in this talk, I'm going to talk at a very high level about some basic characteristics of the company. I encourage you to come see us at our booth. We're over in the 500 row, I think 535, something like that. I also encourage you to read about the company, understand the forward-looking statements that we're making here, and go through our disclosure and learn about the company before making an investment. Core has 4 gold assets. The company is 100% in gold. 2 of those assets are in southeastern British Columbia, and 2 are in California. I'll talk about the resources we have in those assets in a few slides. We've got a large resource base across 3 of those assets. And I'll briefly talk about Imperial, very, very briefly about Long Valley and Fraser Gold and why we're so excited. But I think the characteristics of the company should sort of tell you all you need to know. The company currently in the ground has 2.5 million ounces of measured and indicated resources, has 2.4 million ounces of inferred resources. These resources are the result of past operators of these assets investing tens of millions of dollars into the ground that are now to the benefit of Core's current shareholders. And we can benefit from all the data they've generated. We can benefit from those ounces in the ground. And we've got strategies around how we're going to leverage those different asset bases to grow shareholder value going forward. I like this chart because it talks very much about the characteristics of Core today. And I'm going to bridge into talking a bit about who owns Core today. Core has 3 major shareholders. Management and the insiders of the company, myself and the 2 founders, own about 50% of the equity of the company. As I said earlier, this is a new gold equity. Think of this company like any startup. This is a startup mining company, not different than a startup technology company, not different than a startup biotech company. The majority of the stock is still owned by insiders of the company. That puts us lockstep aligned with new shareholders who want to generate per share value to both benefit ourselves and benefit all shareholders of the company. And the company needs capital to invest, advance its assets, grow the shares that are trading in the market, grow the public float of the company, and allow new shareholders to come into the story, and if we're successful, do so at progressively higher prices, which obviously is the objective of all such startup businesses. Core has also attracted 2 other major investors. I said there were 3. Macquarie Bank has invested $4 million in the company, and they have a very specific investment purpose in mind. Macquarie Bank did 6 months of due diligence on the main asset of Core mining called Imperial before investing. They believe that asset will one day be a mine. They bought a royalty on that project, and they bought a right to finance the development of that project. And this is a finance bank. They're very conservative. They had to get this investment through their investment committee. So they have a very strong belief that Core has a real asset here that could be a mine. We also have Eric Sprott. Eric Sprott invested $3 million in the company with a completely different investment thesis. He saw Core having a portfolio of gold assets. He clearly likes gold. He believes fundamentally that there's a run-up in the juniors coming, and he's allocated a bunch of capital behind that theory. He put his $3 million in the company to grow the resource base of the company. He likes drill holes. He likes exploration. He likes ounces in the ground. And Core's ounces in the ground happen to look very cheap to him. And in fact, you can see on the left side of this chart, Core is currently trading at $4 US an ounce in the ground. Now, we would like to move, per Macquarie's investment thesis, over to that right-hand side of the chart and also have a net asset value. We can get a net asset value by doing an economic assessment of one of our deposits. And we announced just last week that we are currently working on a preliminary economic assessment of our flagship Imperial project that should allow us to then be compared on that PNAV side of the chart. But it's a very good way of looking, number one, two ways to value a mining company, but the way two separate investors have invested in the same company with very different investment thesis. The flagship asset in the company is called Imperial. It's a rare, simple oxide gold deposit located in Southern California. It's got 0.9 million ounces of M&I and 1.3 million ounces of inferred resources, and you can see sort of some rough configurations. If you come over to our booth, we'll spin you around in 3D and sort of show you all about what it looks like on the ground at the asset. We've recently completed a geophysics program and relogging of all the old historical core, and it shows that the deposit is open in several directions, which means we believe that through exploration dollars we can grow the size of that deposit. However, as I said earlier, we think we've got enough on the ground right now to complete an economic assessment, and that work is currently underway. We expect that PEA to come out in the early part of Q2, hopefully before April of 2020 this year. The geophysics program we ran over the deposit to look at the upside also revealed something very interesting that was not known about this deposit from past operators. There's a very large geophysical anomaly underneath the deposit that's never seen drilling. It's kind of changed our view, kind of to our own geologist's surprise, about where we should be allocating drill dollars. And at some point in the future, we would like to get a hole and run it long through the deposit and try and test this big anomaly underneath, because we're not sure yet if it's the sulfide roots of the deposit. Imperial is fully oxidized, which means it's amiable to heap leaching, but we don't know where the sulfide roots where that gold came from are. Perhaps that's what this is. Perhaps it's a parallel structure, or perhaps it's some unmineralized other anomaly, but it is exciting to our geologists and gives us a little more exploration excitement around the Imperial deposit. We've also got a very large exploration package around that deposit. This deposit is located in South Central California. Again, you can see it's the little red dots in the middle of that map. Bookending both ends of our claim package, we've got the Mesquite mine, which you see up on the left of that chart. It's a funny blue shape. Mesquite has processed 6.3 million ounces over 20 plus years of operations. There's several more million ounces in the ground there. It's a very large deposit. Our deposit, as I said earlier, has a large resource at surface. And then the other side of that land package, you see another little blue dot. That's the old Picacho mine that was operated by Glamis in the 1990s. Core owns all of the ground, the claims in between those two mines, including our own deposit. That's a total of about 20,000 acres, wide open for exploration, although undercover, which is why we're actually starting with geophysics. And we're currently mobilizing a contractor to site to start doing some geophysical surveys. Knowing the signature of our current deposit that's intact, we have a very high chance of understanding the right signature of another deposit that might be on that trend. So we're also excited about the regional upside and additional discoveries. I mentioned earlier there's actually other assets, so that's Imperial. It's a very, very short review of what is in fact a very exciting asset, heading towards hopefully permitting and eventually production. But we have other assets in the company that also have resources, and we do have exploration planned for both of those deposits as well. We're currently permitting a drill program at Fraser Gold, I'll talk about in a sec. And we also have Long Valley, which you see on this picture. Long Valley is an intact epithermal deposit. You saw the resource earlier. There's a total of about 1.7 million ounces of oxide, transition, and sulfides at that deposit. However, the sulfides at depth have never been tested. So we're going to go put some drill holes underneath this oxide deposit, try to find some of the higher grade sulfides that might be feeding that system in the intact epithermal down what they call the boiling zone. Geologists are very excited about that potential and might also add some additional ounces to that project. So again, about Long Valley, we're trying to make it bigger using some Eric Sprott's money. We're also currently permitting a drill program at Fraser Gold. Similarly, we're trying to make that deposit bigger so that we can attract more capital to keep advancing. We're quite excited about the potential for higher grades at Fraser Gold. It's an old deposit that was drilled out in 2006 and 2007 as a bulk disseminated deposit, but it's got some very nice high grades in the core, and we think we can extend those at depth and make a higher grade, more exciting project. The capital structure of the company I sort of talked about in the intro. It's heavily owned by insiders and strategic shareholders. It is trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange and on the OTCQB in the States. I think I've hit most of my high points. So Core is a very new gold company. The market's only just getting familiar with the assets. And if you want to learn more, come see us at our booth over on Row 500. Thank you.